Welcome back to Calling the Audible. It is week 10, episode 10. Part 2, though, as Mo took over part 1 on Tuesday night for your viewing and audio pleasure on Wednesday. The Thursday episode coming out on Friday. Your host, Iggy Magnets, here. We're going to be talking Division 4 this week. We're going to be talking Division 1. Again, with Division 4, we're going to have Jerome Hovington on with us. For Division 1, we will have Raf Morelli joining us to talk Division 1 and the best of the best FPF has to offer. And then the rest of the way, Mo Khan will be joining us to cover the women's division, Co-Ed 1, Co-Ed 2, and the 35 plus division. But first, of course, as we always do here, some news and notes in the world of FPF. But, actually, let's take a step away from FPF for just a second. We have the St. Patrick's Day weekend here in Montreal. Always a classic and one of the best places to be, of course, in North America and all the world. Definitely party out there, go have fun, but do so responsibly so you make it clean and sober for your game time, and then do your shenanigans. But once again, do so responsibly. Spring registration just around the corner. Look for emails, look for the registrations, the updated ratings as well for players. So that you can register in the right division with the right team cap. So all of that, Division A through Division E for the men's. There will be Co-Ed 1, 2, and 3 for the spring season, and of course a women's division as well. The introduction of a 5v5 format, the more standard international format, will be available for those who want to play 3 different levels: experienced or top level, intermediate, and beginner. So 3 different levels for that. So if you're interested in joining a 5v5 format and making a team for that, that's definitely going to be possible as of May 2024. So, like I said, that's gonna keep it nice and short for the introductions here. If not, I'd be repeating basically the same things we've been repeating for the past 10 weeks. But here we're going to start with Jerome Hovington. I do have a new producer behind the scenes here with Omar taking over instead of the Nightingale and Ali Reza. So just Omar, if you can just clue me in as to when Jerome Hovington, if he's already on set, just on tap here. But we will have Jerome Hovington on in Division 4. We're going to talk Division 4A, of course, Division 4B. Really some interesting developments in Division 4A that I want to talk to with Jerome. Notably, a once undefeated team, no longer undefeated. What does that mean in the Division 4A world? We have a winless team that got a first victory this past week. What does that mean for them and their playoff hopes? Is it too little, too late, or can they string together enough wins to make it into the playoffs? And then we'll take a look at either a wide receiver of the year or a receiver of the year, or two-way player. Won't name the player just now. We'll keep some intrigue and leave it so leave a little tease for you to stay tuned here for Division 4A talk. And then we'll make our way to Division 4B. We're going to see who's more likely to win two-way player of the year between 2 players that I'll let Jerome battle it out. And then we'll take a look at some of the more interesting matchups in Division 4B. There are 2 on my list here that I want to get Jerome's take on, which is the more tantalizing matchup in Division 4B. Omar, can you give me a quick showing on how we're doing with Jerome here? All right, so we are just waiting here for Jerome on the docket. Ah, I see why. I know exactly why he's not here because I told him at 7:10 and it is 7:06. So hopefully he can join here. You know what? Since I have 4 minutes, behind me over my right shoulder, some light. Finally, daylight savings. Uh, Man, okay, this is gonna be the 3 minute rant on like daylight savings time. My God, can we just not do this every year? Like it should always. The time should have never changed. This shouldn't have happened. Like in October, we shouldn't roll back the clocks. Yes, okay, it's dark in the morning for like a few more hours. I don't care. Give me a more light in the afternoon, like there is right now. It's 7 o'clock. Light at 7 o'clock in March. In February, my God, there should be 6 o'clock. There should be light as it is. That's my rant. It wasn't 3 minutes because I do have Jerome Hovington on here. Omar, if we can unmute Jerome, I want to welcome him in. Jerome. Oh, one sec. Jerome is on. He's just waiting in the wings on the tarmac here. Jerome Hovington, welcome to the show, Calling the Audible. It's week 10, episode 10 here. Hello, Jerome.
Hello, Iggy, how have you been?
Hey, I've been all right. Better like you heard me ranting there with the sunlight. I'm definitely happy. There's more light at 7 o'clock in prime time here. Um, Jerome, we're gonna dive in right away. What everyone wants to talk about in Division 4A, the shakeup of that really the rumbled the entire division. Les Audibles Extrêmes losing to Mofos. It really shaking up the Division 4A standings. What's the bigger storyline here, Jerome? Is it the fact that the number one seed now is wide open in the division? Or is it that LOE showed a chink in their armor here and that maybe they aren't a team that, we were fearing a lot, you and I saying that this is one of the elite teams. Is that still the case? What's the bigger storyline here? Oh, Jerome, are you able to hear me? Maybe Omar. Oh, we lost Jerome. So his connection is not doing so
I
well.
think
My God, I wanted
obviously
to get into that
we
talk
pretty much
about Division
everybody.
4A.
Yeah.
So we will have Jerome just back on in a few minutes here. He had some poor connection. You know what? When Jerome does come back on, even though as much as I want to talk about the Les Otares Extrêmes losing to Mofos, and Mofos maybe pulling off the upset of the year, maybe in Division 4A. I'm gonna get Jerome's take on his favorite St. Patrick's Day beer, whether he likes it green or not. And man, it would be awesome to get a public poll here on whether people like the green beer or not. We do have Jerome back. All right, Omar, is he officially on screen here? We're good to go. Yeah. All right, Jerome, welcome
Sorry.
back. Your connection a little shoddy there, just
Yeah.
like just like Les Autats Extrêmes this past week. But you know what? I wanted to get into the that matchup right away, but then I told the viewers that when you would come back on, your go-to St. Patrick's Day beer, and do you want it green or not?
I love Stella Artois. I think it's the best beer uh around. Obviously, it's not necessarily St. Patrick's Day themed, but can't go wrong with that.
Okay, so you'll take that over the Guinness that someone might pass you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind the Guinness once in a while, but it's just after one, I'm done. You can have two.
Okay, that's fine. But it's your first beer, your first St. Patrick's Day beer. It's okay if it's Guinness, or you're sticking
Yeah.
with Stella the whole night, or what?
Nah, I might start with Guinness and with Corona.
Okay, all right. Good choice there. All right, now let's get into it. Les Autats Extrêmes. So, what was the biggest storyline for you, Jerome? Number one seed wide open, or LOE not as strong as we thought?
Probably LOE not as strong as we thought. But then again, it's just one game.
It's
against
one game. Are we overreacting? Maybe.
yeah, probably, obviously. And it's a very athletic team that they played. Mofos, I think that's probably one of the toughest matchups that they're gonna have. Um, being that Mofos are so athletic, it's hard to score on that team. And Smoko Sanogo was probably the guy bringing them down throughout the season, and he had a not perfect game, but very solid game enough to win. And obviously, like that's the recipe. You have to be athletic to beat les États extrêmes.
So does what does it say more about then? Is it LOE's, inability maybe to close out close games here, or are does this say more about Mofo's and that they're a dangerous team to potentially beat these top end teams in the playoffs?
I think it says more about Mofos. Um, I I said before the season, I think the CP can be very dangerous if Smoko is able to be solid at the QB position. It's always been a bit of a difficult for him, especially come playoff time. He gets sacked a lot. He has a tendency to make bad decisions. He's not a natural quarterback, as we know. But I think yeah, this is a team like they've been here for a while. I know they don't play often; they only play winter, but like they've been playing in the league for more often, like for a longer time than most teams in Division Four.
Yeah, yeah, I like Mofo's upset ability. If you're taking this team lightly, and it's a team that gets stronger, I think as the year goes along. They're more used to their concepts. Their playbook gets a little shorter. They kind of know, or Tiamoko knows. Hey, let's go to this play on like 3rd and 12 to make it either fourth and manageable or pick up the first down. So definitely, I think Mofo's is a dangerous team for all these Division 4A top seeds. Jerome, Step Brothers finally getting their first win over still CRA. Now they. Picking up their first win is great, but did they run out of racetrack here, or could they still find a way to sneak into the playoffs?
It's gonna be very hard. Um, right now, I'm looking at it, and 3 wins might not even be enough to make the playoffs, and they have 3 games remaining and 1 win, so they need to win at least 2 of those minimum. And you got Trap Stars, tough out. Undisciplined Flaggers, doable. Born in the 80s, another tough out. Um, ideally, they'd win all 3 because I don't even think they're guaranteed to make it with 2 out of 3 wins. But yeah, I mean, it's like the season is so long, but at the same time, like week one matters just as much as week 10. And, starting the season
Yeah, sometimes even I catch myself saying it that like, a week one loss, whatever, but it still represents 10% of the season. Every game represents 10% of the season. So as much as sometimes, we're shaking off the rust, one game, that's true if your team is expected to go 8-2, 7-3, right? But for a team that was thinking to maybe go 500 or a little less than that. You want to pick up the wins as early and as often as possible. I think personally they've run out of racetrack because you're right. Even if they pick up 2 wins, they're sitting at 3-6. That's not good enough. Le Montagnan and still CRA are 3-5 and they're not in right now. So they would have to essentially win out and just with Trap Stars alone, that's that's almost an impossible task. I'd say 1%
yeah.
chance for this team to do it. Uh, if you look at Alex Bacalani, the guy has 6 individual awards to his name. Can we see maybe a seventh individual award added to his name in this season in Division 4A?
Um, I don't think so. Just based off the fact that he's already got 8 games played and he doesn't have that big of a lead over the other guys. Kevin Malonga has kind of exploded with 12 TDs, but you've got what, like 6 or 7 players with above 10 touchdowns at the moment. All of them have played less games than Alexandre, and yeah, he's been really really good. He's been dominant, but and then again, I don't think he's got the QB necessarily to get him those touchdowns and yards to win an award.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the 8 games played is not in his favor. Yards are big, and he's second right now, 473. But Oriola, Poirier, of course, of Bet Boost Ballers, 496, 12 TDs. So a bit over in the yards, one touchdown behind, but he's only played 6 games now. I don't know how many games necessarily Bet
Three.
Boost has played.
He's got
Seven?
three. He's got 3 games left. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Bet Boost or Oriola, or
Bet
both.
Boost has got 3 games left,
Okay,
so
okay,
he's
okay.
gonna,
So
yeah,
yeah. So okay,
if
so
he
even
shows up.
then, so yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, there's a chance. I mean, there's even a chance for even two-way player, or was I just looking at Bacalani, 2 interceptions, 2 PDs? No, it's really receiver of the year or nothing for Bacalani. So Jerome says no for Bacalani, adding to his hardware in the collection. We'll now move over to 4B, Jerome, and we'll look at in 4B, same thing, but the two-way player of the year. I have two names in mind. They're not necessarily the leaders and leading contenders for two-way player of the year. Who's more likely to win two-way player of the year? Is it Justin Gauthier of Back to the Future or Gab Champagne playing with Pocket Rockets?
Um, well, if we talk about it just from a defensive standpoint, they're pretty even. Although David Champagne hasn't played as many games. He's only got 5 games, 5 picks, 1 PD. It's not incredible in terms of the PDs and no pick six. So he hasn't necessarily gotten that big of a lead over Gauthier. Actually, they're pretty. Yeah, Gauthier has a pick six and 3 PDs, but 2 more
Yeah.
games played. So it's
And
pretty much even at this point. I mean, a
the pick
couple
six is big,
games.
man. The
Yeah, I
pick
know.
six and the 2 PDs and the double the tackles, even
Yeah,
though
but
the
2 less games.
INTs are flush. Yeah, fair. Okay.
Do you think like Gab is not getting like more interceptions like in those next 2 games? Like probably he's probably going to.
Right.
So I think it's pretty close at this point. Like who's going to end up with better defensive stats?
Right.
Um, from an offensive standpoint, obviously, uh, Dabe Champagne is 9 touchdowns, 329 yards in 5 games. That's really good. Like that's near the top in both. And once again, less games played, so he's got games to pick it up and bring it even more.
Right.
Um, and just like we'll see, it's like, oh yeah, he's a QB and he also plays defense. It's
Yeah.
amazing, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, he hasn't been that great at the QB position.
It's been like,
It's
I mean, he's sick. He's sitting sixth right now in TDs, but that's only 23 total yards. He's still like top five. I mean, it's not outstanding numbers when you compare it to Jacob Salve, definitely the number one QB right now out there in Division 4B. But it's not putting terrible numbers up. It's still consideration for good enough offensive numbers, but it sounds like you're thinking that Gab Champagne is just putting up better offensive numbers. But that's the
I
thing, right?
think
It's
so.
it's receiver numbers versus QB. It's a little hard to judge, but you're going to the receiver route.
Like would I say like I would put him like maybe sixth or seventh as best quarterback? Are you going to give the sixth or seventh best receiver the two-way player of the year? I don't know. I think you got to be top five in both at least. And like most guys that we've seen win two-way player of the year, they've been like top three, top two, even leading some stats. So yeah, I think Justin has to step it up the next few games. Definitely has a chance, but it's gonna have to be like way more efficient from him.
Yeah, I gotcha. All right, and we wrap it up here in Division 4B with the just taking a look at the schedule, Jerome. The bigger, more tantalizing matchup in Division 4B. Is it Pocket Rockets versus Penetrators, or is it Team Sexy versus Killer Rays?
Ooh. I want to say Pocket Rockets versus Penetrators because I just love the way Penetrators play. It's really intense, very good defense. We saw it versus les Renards Vifs. And Pocket Rockets have been one of the most efficient offenses in the division. Obviously, we've talked about Dabe Champagne here. Um, how are they gonna stop him?
I don't know who David Champagne
I
is.
Dabe Champagne.
Oh,
Dab.
Dab,
Yeah,
Dab,
yeah, yeah.
Dab.
You call him Dab? I think it's Dabe. It's
Okay.
French, no?
What a
But
Dab,
anyway,
Dab, baby.
yeah,
Come
Dab
on.
Champagne. Alright.
That's why I
But
go
yeah,
Dab Champagne.
because Predator's really good defense. Do they have that necessarily that defender that can stop him? Hmm. Because like
Yeah,
versus
yeah, it's tough.
it's like it's matchup nightmare for like 99% of teams. Like
Exactly.
most teams don't have a guy who can guard him. So I think yeah, that's gonna be very interesting. Like can penetrators keep up that defensive prowess versus such a talented offensive player?
What about is there anything to say Team Sexy versus Killer Rays? Team Sexy just suffering a loss here against the Back to the Future, sitting at 3-3. Killer Rays at 4-2. Is this something that a game that Killer Rays can push themselves into potentially second place here, sitting at that would push them to 5-2?
I think these two teams are kind of underwhelming this season. Like I probably expected a little bit more from both of these teams. Team Sexy sitting at 3-3, not a great offense so far. Um, Killer Rays, obviously we know about Tyler Gerberg. He's always gonna have his name up there in the stats, and I think Team Sexy has the defenders to stop him, to slow him down. Then you got obviously we talked a lot about these two guys, Curtis Ryan and Aiden Lariviere, who are
Yeah.
very solid number two and number three options. Um, Team Sexy haven't been as good defensively as I thought they would be this season. Um, they're a really athletic group of guys, but they haven't necessarily gotten that many interceptions. I think both of these teams have something to prove, like prove that they're really contenders. They can
Yeah.
they can absolutely make a run because I think these two teams are really talented. They have a lot of athletes, perhaps maybe a little inconsistent at times. Maybe not the best quarterback play every single game, and I think it'll be a good matchup. But who would I pick though?
Leave that for a sec, because I have some time to kill. So
Ooh,
I'll have that for you. I'll just say though that for Team Sexy, of course I've mentioned the names and we've talked about Sam Anastopoulos, even Andrew Steinberg. We've talked about that. They're like unassuming, but very good defenders. But the other name I'll add, not just because he's the leading interceptor for the team, but Philippe Couillard, a very underrated defender. He can track the ball very well in the air and follow a post across the field. He's caused a lot more interceptions and PDs than QBs would be willing to admit. Jerome, I wanted your thoughts to wrap up 4B. I gave you a tease. This is actually the wrap up. We're going to do games of the week with Jerome Hovington. So you're going to be selecting your game winners, and let's see if they actually match up with your article. So in
oh,
week 11, we first one we got monkeys versus scrumdiddlyumptious.
ooh, I think Scrumdiddlyumptious.
All right. I saw your lips moving, but I couldn't tell if you were still talking. Next, we got Dak to the Future versus Voodoo. Should be interesting.
Uh, Back to the Future.
Right? We got the aforementioned Pocket Rockets versus the Penetrators.
Give me Penetrators.
And second to last, Team Sexy versus Killer Rays, your winner.
Flores.
And then another low key good one, Fourth and Schlong versus Ball Don't Lie.
Give me fourth and Schlong.
Yeah, they're on a roll, like I said last week, and they got a big victory over the Wolfpack, 30-6. Those were Jerome's game picks. Jerome, thank you very much for joining the show. We're going to be moving on in a second here, Division One with Raf Morelli. But again, Jerome, thanks so much. Enjoy St. Patrick's. Enjoy your first Guinness, and then move on to Stella.
All right, thank you, Iggy.
All right, good
Have
night,
a
Jerome.
good rest of the podcast. Good night.
Thank you. Thanks. All right, we like I said, Division One, we will have Raf Morelli on. I see him here waiting in the wings on the tarmac, waiting for the plane to take off. Of course, we're gonna get everyone's take on their St. Patrick's first beer of the night. I mean, if it's not Guinness, I don't know where you're going, but maybe someone will shock us. So we're gonna be talking with Division One. Here he is, Raf Morelli. Welcome to Calling the Audible.
Hey, what's up, Iggy?
Hey, I'm good. I'm good. Right away, you heard it already. Raf, your first beer of the night on the St. Patrick's Day weekend in Montreal.
Uh, like you said, I feel like it's kind of wrong to choose anything but a Guinness, but I'm not really a big fan. I kind of like light beers, not really a heavy drinker per se. So like a nice anything blonde, Stella, Corona. That's my kind of vibe.
So would you go Guinness and then switch over, or would you go Corona or
Yeah,
Stella
I
all
think
night?
just for the cause, if I'm out with the boys, I probably would probably grab a round of Guinness and then
And
see
then
how
switch.
it goes.
All right, cool. Raf, very interesting stuff here in Division One, particularly when I look at the Jamesons and not only who they beat, but how they beat them too. Right, it's a team that's put 103 points up in 2 games. It's almost ridiculous. And they beat, of course, the All Stars 2 weeks ago, KGP last week. Do they finish the number one seed? Where's the ceiling for this team? Let's talk about the Jamesons. They deserve it.
Honestly, the Jamesons have impressed me because they've played well all season, 7-1. Their only loss coming to Wyoming Luminaire, I think. So that really means they beat everybody else who's at the top of the division. Braves, uh, All Stars, Flag Sac, they beat them all, and in pretty convincing fashion. I think the only team they didn't beat by more than a score was Braves by that 1 point. I
One
think they
point,
give
yeah.
them the hardest their hardest test so far this season. 325 total points for, I believe. Like really, really crazy good offensive output in what 8 games, I think.
Yeah,
I
8 games,
definitely
40 points, averaging 40
average
points a
40
game.
points a game. Like you're really giving your defense some leeway and some relaxation. Thinking like
Yeah.
we get one stop, like we're actually good. We'll be
Yeah.
fine. And that's how it's been most of the season. I didn't really get to catch their loss to Royal Luminaire and see exactly what happened and how that one went down and why they lost. But I definitely think they'll end the season with the number one seed because they have all the tiebreakers. So even if they were to lose another game, I don't honestly I don't see them losing another game. And even if they did, I'm sure some other teams would be tied with them at 8-2 at like the very least. So I honestly think they definitely will finish with the number one seed because of their tiebreakers, their points for, and having beaten having just played so well. I think I predicted Jeff, not in Division One but in Division Two to be like one of the best quarterbacks. And in Division Two, their run at once is kind of having a little bit of a couple of setbacks, but the Jamesons in
Yeah.
Division One are doing more. He's doing better in Division One than I thought he was going to do in Division Two, really. So
Right, right. Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
been impressive to see all season.
Yeah, the only way they lose the number one seed is if they do drop one of their 2 remaining games and Flagmo Sac goes undefeated. They would go 9-1,
And
and then
they would
Jamesons
have the
would be
extra
eight and
win.
two. That would be the only way. But Raf Morelli doesn't see that happening for the way and really the way Jamesons have looked so far this season. Uh, Raf, interesting question here. I was looking at the stats in Division One, with the player stats, of course, and you know, Anthony Brisebois right now, the Triple Crown leader, touchdowns, yards, and receptions. What's more likely to happen? Will Anthony Brisebois end the year with the Triple Crown, wide receiver, or does one of these quarterbacks enter the top 10 season record for completion percentage? So right now, the number 10 player is Jeremy White, where he had a 75.5% completion percentage. Right now, with the completion percentage department, you have Joe Meyer at 75.2, Jeff Rosenblatt at 74.9, and Kevin Wyeth at 74.4. Could any of those three get better than 75.5. So what's more likely to happen here? A lot of numbers thrown out there, but basically Anthony Brisebois Triple Crown winner, or will we see one of these three quarterbacks get the enter the season record for completion percentage?
Has anyone actually won the Triple Crown in Division One yet? Is
I
that
don't know.
like
In Division One, I don't know, but I think it happened in Div 3 or 4 last season.
I would
Yeah.
assume it's happened before, but I really was
Yeah.
was curious to see if that's ever happened in Division One before,
In Div
because
1, it'd
honestly,
be.
that's it's quite a feat to be the leader in all three categories. To be honest, to answer your question, I do think it's possible for both of those things to happen, because I think
Okay.
Brisebois is leading by yards by like a good margin.
40.
40. I think the receptions is really what's kind of keeping me off of him winning a Triple Crown. I think Matt Kerouac a game behind and only
A
3
game behind.
receptions away.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like after a game of the All-Stars, he can definitely pass him in that category, and that'll hold him back. Still very possible because he's such a great receiver, and the Jamesons have been on fire all season offensively. Which kind of makes me think that it's very possible for Jeff, who's already played 8 games, so he has like kind of less room for error, less games for error, right? Because if you throw 50% in one game, that kind of throws off
It's over.
your
Yeah.
whole season completion percentage. So I think it's very possible for Jeff, that probably has the best chance to finish with another percent with just 2 games left and playing not particularly strong defensive teams, right? So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
I think with the teams that they're facing and having already played 8 games, because I think even Wyatt's at 7 and Myers at like 5. So Meyer he is in the lead with completion
Yeah.
percentage, but
Yeah.
having another 5 games, like I said, having one game at 55% will dramatically drop his season percentage. So I do think it's probably Jeff who has the best chance above everything mentioned to get into that top 10. I do think one good game with the 80% can really skyrocket him with one game left.
Yeah.
Um, and it's very possible that Brisebois also ends the season uh, leading all three categories. The real thing we'll have to see is when everybody kind of balances out and are all around 9 games. We'll kind of know. We'll have an idea of what he needs to do in their 10th game to see how he ends the season.
Yeah, exactly. I can see Jeff, like if he needs, because you're right, Kerouac with a game behind and 3 receptions behind, he gets like 5 receptions a
Right?
game,
Like
right?
it's almost certain he'll pass him as soon as he
But
catches that game. So it's almost like that's his category that he'll really need to focus on, because he'll score a touchdown almost every game. Like that's not really the problem. And I think he's leading by like one or two. So
yeah, one or two. But
that's already pretty good.
But again, like that's the thing. He's leading in every category right now, but he's a game or two more than the rest.
Yeah, that's it.
And I just wonder in that last game of the season, that 10th game, Jeff, I'm pretty certain he's gonna be like, okay, Brisebois,
We'll be aware.
Anto, what
We'll
do you
know.
need? What do you need this game? Four receptions, 80 yards, 3, 4 TDs, whatever it is, we'll get it for you.
You know what? I'm sure that'll be Jeff's downfall in getting the top 10. Just posting the
Exactly.
ball to Brisebois to make sure
Exactly.
that he gets his catches and getting like 6 incompletions that game just because he was trying to force him a touchdown or something.
Exactly. And then I was also looking at the defensive side of the ball here in Division One, and noticed a stellar performance from Guillaume Paquette this past week. A 3 INT performance, 2 of which were pick sixes. Did Guillaume Paquette pretty much cement himself Defensive Player of the Year?
I think he has, with that big performance that he had last week. Simply because he's kind of outpacing everybody right now, and he's not really ahead in games played. He might be one. And I think the next closest guy to like interceptions and pick sixes is Daniel Mancini, who has more games played than
Right.
than
Yeah.
than Guillaume and Flagmon Sack. So I do think he's definitely in the driver's seat. Like I don't see, unless somebody else in week 12 or 13 has a similar performance that they're getting 2, 3 INTs, two INTs and a pick six to actually try to close that gap. I think he'll run away with it. I think he's leading by like 3 right now with 7.
Yeah.
So in
Yeah.
Division 1, 7 INTs, averaging one a game is is actually
It's
amazing.
wild.
It's really
Yeah.
crazy when you think about it. So he doesn't even need to keep this pace to be like, oh, that's how he'll get it. He could almost be like, we're good. Like if he's all right and he just shows up, he'll be able to lock down that award.
Yeah, exactly. And not that he needed it, but he has a sack too. So like, if
Just to
ever,
say, all
if
his
ever it got,
confidence.
if ever it got close, hey, I have
He
a
also had
sack
that
too.
sack. Yeah.
Raf, that's it for Division One. But of course, I don't want to leave without going through the games of the week here. Of course, they will, or maybe be in your article. Like Jerome, I want to see if the picks on calling the audible, if ever they differ from your picks in the article. So let's go ahead.
I haven't
All
really checked out
stars.
the
Oh,
schedule yet, so let's do it.
all right, all right. Here we go. So All Stars versus FFN.
All stars.
You got Maroons facing off against KGP. Should be a very interesting battle here.
I think that's gonna be one of the closer ones of the week, but I'll take Maroons.
Okay, and by how much? What's the spread in this one? I'm very curious. I was almost willing to talk about this game. We just ran out of racetrack here.
I feel like a 3 or 4 point advantage for Maroons, simply just converts. I feel like
All right,
they might have the upper hand and just they might score the same amount of touchdowns, but you'll see a 3 or 4 point difference in the scoreboard.
gotcha. Braves versus Blessed.
Blessed has kind of been awkward this season.
Is
Like I'm
yeah, I know what
expecting
you
them
mean.
to do and perform a lot better than they have been. So I'll take the Braves. Even though they had a little rocky start, I think the Braves are gonna honestly roll with some wins and still end with 7 or 8 wins at the end of the season, like we expect them to.
Yeah. And then final game of Division One here. We got Royaume La Luminaire against Flagmoil Sac.
Wyoming Luminaire is like such a dark horse underdog team. Like every time we think,
Yes.
oh yeah, like they'll probably lose, they end up coming out and win. Like we saw them beat the Jamesons. But I guess I'll take Flag Sack.
Yeah, that's what you're just going with the powerhouse offense there.
Yeah, exactly. Just they just know how to play so well together. Like when you see Flag Sack walk into a dome or something, you don't expect them to be one of the best teams in Division One visually. And just one as soon as they start playing, they just know how to play in unison, chemistry, experience, all that good stuff that isn't exactly flashy to the eye, but they know how to do everything perfect.
It's exactly that. You're watching and you're like, they're making it look so easy, so effortless, and they're scoring in like 2 to 3 plays every drive, and you're just
Not
like,
sure how exactly it
what just happened?
happened.
Like, I can't even explain what I just saw, but they score so seamlessly, so easily. But yes, I do like your point about Royaume Luminaire, dark horse each and every week. Maybe their defense can give Flagmol Sac 1 or 2 hiccups, and maybe that's enough for Jesse Dupree to get the win. Definitely some interesting matchups here in Week 11. Raf, thanks again for joining us here, Division One, calling the audible. And any plans for the weekends here for that St. Patrick's Day? Are
uh,
you going out with your buds for the Guinness round?
no, so far nothing crazy. I think I've got a flag game on Saturday night in Brossard, so that's kind of might put a dent in the weekend plans. But we'll see. We'll see if anything happens.
All right, sounds good. Raf, thanks again for joining the show. Appreciate it very much. Thanks and good night.
Thank you very much, Iggy.
All right, we're gonna be moving on here. We're gonna have Mocon, not yet in the tarmac here in the sitting in the queue. Mr. Mocon, I did give him a 742 ETA. It is 740 right now as the lights have gone out outside. With Mocon, we will be discussing next up the women's division, women's 1, women's 2. We'll then move over to the land of co-ed, co-ed 1, co-ed 2. He did have his discussion, co-ed 3 with Zachary Alberts Gill 2 days ago. So that will be co-ed 1, co-ed 2 with Mo. And then we'll wrap up the show with 35 plus. KTFL had a 2-week bye, so they were back in action this past week. And we'll wrap things up with the Legends division. So, some of the things that we're going to talk about with Mo in Women's 1, we're going to take a look at some of these surprising offenses. But not surprising, maybe for the bad reasons here. Teams that we expected to score at a higher clip. We're going to get Mo's thoughts on what's the bigger surprise between two teams, and then it's been a bit of a struggle for Vortex, for Brut. We're gonna see which of the two quarterbacks of these teams can hit a particular milestone with more ease. So we'll get Mo's point of view on that in Women's 1. In Women's 2, we're going to take a look at the landscape in the standings right now. We're going to take a look at, maybe is there a team that's sitting middle of the pack right now that has a better or best chance to make the finals amongst the others? We're going to look at the bottom of the standings as well. There's a big matchup in Week 11. So we're going to wonder whether a Cheetah's victory over Pink Panthers could potentially clinch their spot in the playoffs. Mo Khan is going to get his opinion on that. Nobody, he has sent some text messages here. Yes, so I'm sort of talking with the audience, sort of talking with Omar at the same time. So if that seemed a little odd, there's a particular reason why. And then we're going to look at one of the stellar women performances throughout the season, throughout many FPF seasons. And we're going to wonder and see if she can come away with some more hardware. She's already has 2 individual awards to her name. We're wondering if she's going to add a third to her trophy case come April 13th. So stay tuned to see who exactly we're talking about. That will be Women's 1, Women's 2 coverage with Mo Khan. We'll then move over to co-ed after that, and we'll talk co-ed 1 first with Mo Khan. We'll take a look at one team in particular and wonder if they are the best team in co-ed 1. Bringing it back a few weeks ago, I mentioned I had a conversation with Seth Galina that seeding doesn't really matter. Fine, seeding doesn't matter. So who's the best team? And we're going to have that conversation with Mo Khan. We're going to take a look at the Week 10 matchups that happened. Two teams got really, really big victories. But who got the bigger victory or bigger loss? So we're going to dive into the week that was in Week 10 in Co-Ed 1. And then take a look at a third game. There was near the bottom of the standings, there was a particular Week 10 matchup that was potentially crucial for one team's chance to make the playoff. So stay tuned. Co-ed 1, going to be fascinating discussion for the playoff implications and who really is the best team in Co-ed 1. And we'll move over after that to Co-ed 2, where we're going to take a look at, two teams in particular and wonder what's more surprising, what's more impressive. Is it a certain team's points for, almost hitting close to 300 points, or are we more impressed and more surprised with a team that has given almost a little over 100 points against? So we're going to get Mo's thoughts on what's more surprising, what he thinks, offense, defense, who's the better team. We'll also take a look near the bottom of the standings, a critical matchup once again, Tigres versus Team Meow Meow, and wonder if a loss will spell the end for either team. But here he is, waiting in the wings, Mr. Mo Khan. Omar, just give him the countdown. Bring this guy in. I don't know if he's wearing a Stanley. Mo Khan on the show. Hello, welcome. Are you wearing a Stanley Cup sweater, or is that some other basketball tournament you've
No, it's a Winnipeg Sports Talk shirt.
A Winnipeg Sports Talk. Are you moving?
my
Are
good
you
friend.
trying to tell us something that you're moving to Winnipeg?
No. My good friends from Winnipeg gave me that, so I'm just wearing it, as a, it's warm, it's comfortable. Still chilly
warm,
right
it's
now.
comfortable.
It's not.
It was a nice day. It was a beautiful day here in Montreal.
It was all right. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I hear you much better right now. Yes.
Okay. Cool.
You sounded a little robotic. I was gonna go with Robot Mo, but I'll stick with the Robot Chicken. Mo, we're gonna start with women's one here. Taking a look at the women's one division and the offense and the teams are a little surprising to me. I'm wondering what's more surprising to you. Is it Sub-Zero's 168 points for in 7 games, which averages out to 24? Or are you more surprised by Vortex's 122 points for in 8 games? That's 15 points per game. Anything surprise you more between those two teams as offense?
I would say Vortex to score 122 and be in 5th place for the time being because of the win-loss record for them. I saw them play, I think, 2-3 weeks ago at Loyola. I'll give you the exact date here. I think it was late February was at Loyola. Yeah, it was February 25th when they beat Brutes. But since then, they got wrecked by Les Bleus and Bleu Poudre as well. The two, top 3 teams or top teams of Women's One. And guess what? They get Sub-Zero coming up on April 8th, which is still far away. It's almost like, a month away or so, give or take, 17, so 25 days away from now. So they're not going to be playing for quite a while. Then they get the Bees back-to-back nights. So they go from nothing to a lot in a span of 3 weeks here. So I'll be curious, though, what rhythm they'll have going towards their final 2 games because now they've only have 2 left in their season, and also I'm just curious to see how they can kind of peak up here because 2 wins, they still have a chance to kind of move up in the standings, of where they are as we speak. Again, they're neck and neck with Bees for the 4th spot, and at that point, right, it's more or less the play-in, right, the 4 versus 5 spot. You get the coin flip going your way. So we could potentially see this being a playoff preview here for both these teams. But again, for them, you want to go into the playoffs with momentum, and we'll see if that will be the case as they will only play in early April 8th and 9th of the season.
So for me, it's got to be Sub-Zero, though, because even though 24 points against is not bad, it's not great either. And this is a great team. And okay, fine. It's probably explained with the 2 hiccup games with the Bees, knowing Sarah Parker's offensive system, and probably if you take those 2 games away, where I think they only put up 12 and 14, so what, minus 20 points, you're looking at 150 in 5 games, you're looking at 30 points a game, and now you're looking at the standard average for Sub-Zero. But it's just got to be those 2 games against the Bees where they had the perfect defensive game plan, and I wonder if maybe some other teams take a page out of the Bees defense because if Sub-Zero's putting up 24 points, Les Bleus, Bleu Pou, even Vortex, they're capable of putting up 25 points or more. So I'm a little surprised with Sub-Zero's offensive output this so far this season because I know they can put up 32, 35, 40 points a game. Mo, the quarterbacks in Women's One, of course we've seen some stud quarterbacks struggle just a little bit here in Women's One. So which struggling QB can turn it around and maybe have a goal for themselves to hit, say, 25 touchdowns? Would it be Anika Browns of Vortex or Maud Lacasse of Brut? Who's more likely to hit 25 targets and maybe
None.
even more likely
None.
to turn it around for next season?
None.
So we'll start with none for the 25.
No, they'll hit 20, but not 25. I mean, first of all, Vortex has only 2 games left, right, in their season.
Vortex should have 3.
Right. So sorry, a big part. They have 3, right? So that means you're requiring Vortex, Browns to essentially go more or less 4 touchdowns per game.
You're right. Vortex does have 2 games left,
right?
So that would be tough.
It's not going to happen for Anika Browns unless she goes off for unless she goes off like Kobe Bryant and goes to 64 points, right? Which was 5 touchdowns per game. Not going to happen. and it's just running out of racetrack. I mean, even if she did have an extra game, 3 games to work with, I still don't think she would have gotten to 25 because right now she's on a pace of 2 touchdowns per game. So you prorate that, that's 20. In terms of how many games she's played to what the team's played so far. So no, Mola Casa, it's unfortunate for her. She's had a bad season. It's not been her season this year. I know compared to her years past, what they did in the Fall Cup, winning the title and all that. So I don't think both are going to hit 20, 25. I think 20 could be a more realistic target. But for Mola Cass, that's now you saying you have to throw for at least 3 touchdowns, if not more, to hit that target number going towards the final 3 games of the Brute schedule.
And who can turn it around for next season? Who can have a better season next season in the women's division come winter 2025? Anika Brown's more like us.
Well, it depends who's in what division, who's in what, how many teams are in women's one, I beg your pardon, or women's two, or whatever they choose to go with. So I really don't know what the answer can be. If you talk about spring season, if they both bring back teams for spring season, which we hope they do, I think Mulder Cass can have a better season because it's just been one of those one-off. It's an outlier for her because she's a really good quarterback who I'm a big fan of and how she's played this season. So I believe she can have the rebound season. But for next winter, sorry, I was fasting. I have a dry throat here because it was such a smaller season of teams, the number of teams that we had for women's one. I think next year they'll both be better, but I just think that how many teams will be in women's one, right? So at that point of the season, we'll find out. But I think for spring, I think Lacoste can have a better season though.
All right, we'll move over to women's two, Mo. Taking a look at the standings and the teams with 4 wins right now. So you got Red Nation, Trapa, Carababes, and Fitzsquad. Which team has the best shot at making the finals?
Well, I think history has proven that Red Nation will have a run. It's just a question of if they can improve on their offensive exploits. I mean, they only scored 0 in their last game against Le Patrie de CSL, and they're on a bye week, I think, until the end of March, I believe. But I would take Red Nation because, again, they always peak at the right time, and they play that chip on the shoulder. And they'll be in that conversation. But again, you look at their schedule coming back from their bye week when they do play. I think at the middle of March, whenever that may at the end of March, you get Hibu again, right? This is a team that that they did not play yet. They play Hibu 2, who they beat 29-0. But then you get Cheetahs, which they should easily win. The Petit Miette have always been a thorn in their side, and then Wolfpack. So I think they can easily get 3 more wins out of that 4 games left in the schedule and be a 7-3 team, which will probably park them somewhere between the 4 and 5 spots of the women's 2 division. By the way, we're going right now with how these teams are at 6 wins, 5 wins, 5 wins, 5 wins. But I wouldn't discount them going towards the final 4 games of the season. But again, when you look at that game against CSF Patriot, is that, and again, another outlier, or is that a warning sign that, hey, maybe that they took this momentum for granted and they got skunked by the Pats defense led by Adrian Gomes as the head coach? So I think they are the team that I would watch out for. But again, there could be a trap door that might pop up for them if they don't get this back on track, though.
Big matchup at the bottom of the standings in Week 11. You got the 1-5 Cheetahs sitting in the 16th and final playoff spot right now, going up against the 19th and lowly 0-6 Pink Panthers. If the Cheetahs win, Mo, do they essentially secure themselves a playoff spot?
Yeah, of course, because 2 is probably the get-in for this division, and I think that if they do get that win, they should be okay. But then if they were to lose, it opens it up for Dream Killers and Valhalla as well. And for the Dream Killers girls, they got some teams coming up here. They got Cheetahs coming up March 17th, which is a massive game we talked about before.
Another one.
Yeah. They got Valhalla to end off their season. Le Louvre as well. I mean, there's games that they have that they can easily win and control their playoff fate. So I think 2 will definitely give a nice gloss their win total here. But if they were to lose, I think Valhalla and Dreamcoast have a chance, along with Pink Panthers, who, by the way, have played 6 games, so they have 4 games left to run with. And their schedule, they kiss my boots, not going to be easy. Wildcats could be the one that they can get. Wolfpack, we'll find out. But I think right now it could be an open-ended question right now for how this can play out for this division, if we do see the loss by the Chiefs this weekend.
Yeah, I completely botched that. I somehow saw Cheetahs playing Pink Panthers, which is not the case. Like you alluded to, they were playing Dream Killers in Week 11. So you alluded to that. The winner of this game, uh, I think both ways. I think the winner of this game really solidifies themselves as a playoff team, and I think the loser of this game really puts a big shot in their chances at making the playoffs. Because now you're not only putting one team above you, it's the tiebreaker's not in your favor, and you're gonna have to play hopefully one of the bottom teams tied with you right now in Valhalla or Pink Panthers. Maryse Paquette, Mokan, is she coming away with her third individual award come April 13th?
Probably. I mean, I don't see why she wouldn't. I mean, you look at the stats that she's put up this season. I definitely believe that she will be on her way towards that number. And I think at the end of the day, you got 54 catches, you got 9 touchdowns, you got 524 yards. You could win the Triple Crown. I mean, right now you're probably going to win the most receptions. Yards, you're up decently enough. I mean, you're up by 50, 60 yards. Touchdowns, you're kind of chasing it right now. So she could definitely get the Triple Crown for receiving stats this year for Wolfpack. And if they feed her the ball a little bit more and get her a few more touchdowns, then yeah, I think she's got a good chance to get the Triple Crown as a receiver in women's too.
I mean, feed her a little more. 77 targets. She's leading the way in women's too, but definitely you weren't necessarily here. You were at the tail end of it for Division One. But just like Anthony Brisebois, right now Triple Crown leader in Division One, Maryse Paquette. You're absolutely right. Watch out for her to be for that touchdown. If that touchdown number can, if she can have a week or a stretch of 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, definitely watch the touchdown propeller go up in her favor and get the elusive Triple Crown award. Mo, we'll move over to Co-Ed 1. Like I was telling the viewers here as we were just waiting for you to join, that a few weeks ago, my conversation with Seth Galina, very telling one where we said the seedings don't matter, and I tend to agree. The seedings don't matter, but who's the best team in Co-Ed 1? Is it the number 1 seeded Plenty of Fish?
I think so. I know Winter's, Fall Cup or remnants of the team for Fall Cup didn't do as well as they desired. But I mean, look, their team is loaded. They're balanced attack. You know, we talked about Multicast in the women's, but in this division, she's doing much better than where she would be in the compared to the women's division right now. But you look at Galena, you look at Dylan Taylor, Rocco Cristiano, that's Jamie Ojea. Those are 4 excellent receivers. And Maryse Paquette is a good, solid receiver. Annabelle Chevalier is really good. But I like their defense a lot because right now they have a total of almost 10 INTs so far this season. And they have a pick 6. I think this team right now has the right elements in place to make a run. And contrary to what you guys want to believe that the season doesn't matter, it does. Matchups do matter and who you get in the first round. Because, today, if you look at it this way, in hindsight, given how the playoff breakdown is for this, where 6 of the 8 teams make it and the top 2 receive a bye, that's massive because you avoid perhaps playing a Kiss My End Zone or Easy Fun in the first round or Party Mix as well. And I rather right now, if you think about it, Kiss My End Zone is playing Party Mix in the first round of playoffs in the 4-5, right? I rather avoid that now and wait as long as I can before I have to play the big hitters of this division. So 100%. I think number seasons does matter in this division going towards the final few weeks of the season. So if you get a top 2 spot, congratulations. If you're in that 3, 4, 5, 6 or spot, 3, 4, 5 or 6 spots right now, it's not going to be easy. And that's why having that top 2 is going to be massive. So Easy Fun in particular, if you're chasing Le Passinet or Plenty of Fish, you got to win at the lot and hopefully have one of these teams glitch up that you can get yourself at least a number 2 spot, not the number 1 spot going towards playoffs.
I'll give you that. You should be gunning for those top 2 seeds because a bye means a guaranteed advancement to the next round. But the point of seeding doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're the third, fourth, fifth, or sixth seed. Like, do you want to play IG Team or Kiss My End Zone or Party Mix or Easy Fun? They're all good teams. Now with IG Team, of course, they're missing their leader. They're getting adapted now to Rith at quarterback. So maybe that's the team. But is it really the team you want to face? Like, pick your own poison here in Co-ed 1. Sometimes you get snake bitten. Week 10 matchups, Mo. There was a big one for Kiss My End Zone. Finally got out of a 2-game losing streak. You don't see that too often out of that franchise. Got a win over Party Mix. Both teams at 3-3-1 right now. So was it a bigger win for Kiss My End Zone against Party Mix, or was it a bigger loss for Zero Sub losing to Plenty of Fish?
I think it's a bigger win for Kiss My End Zone over Party Mix, because you're neck and neck, as you said before, Iggy, with a good Frank Delorier roster that he's put together. Again, it might not mean much in the context that, hey, if Easy Fun holds on to number 3, then you're playing Party Mix in the 4-5 matchup. Otherwise, but I think from the perspective of playoff matchups here, if by chance Easy Kiss My End Zone or Party Mix do move up, they can look at this moment. They can look at this game being the turning point of their seasons. Where for Kiss My End Zone, they can say, "Hey, you know what? If we win our next 3 games, we're going to be 6-3-1, and probably in play for number 2." But if you're Sub-Zero, it's a loss, yes, but also now you start to run out of racetrack because you have 3 games left in the season. IG team has a 2-4-1 record right now, and you're chasing them for the 6th spot. And you look at their final 3 games of their schedule that they have left of the campaign, Iggy. I mean, look, they'll play Plenty of Fish, which isn't easy. Le Petit Fuck is not an easy team, and you got Easy Fun. So where's the win coming from? Maybe LPP, maybe if you're lucky, and that might not be enough to get in the playoffs at that point. So I just think right now for them and where they're at, even though they have the tiebreaker on IG team for the head-to-head perspective here, they got to figure out where they can get that next win, and it has to come sooner than later because if they don't get it now, they're not going to the playoffs.
Right, because I'll pose the question, I'll flip it. Imagine the reverse happened. Imagine Kiss My End Zone loses to Party Mix. They're sitting at 2-4-1 with 5 points. And Zero Sub beats Plenty of Fish. Zero Sub would have 5 points. IG Team would have 5 points. And Kiss My End Zone would have 5 points. So in that context, who had the bigger win or bigger loss?
I still think Party Mix because again, for Party Mix for where they're at 3-3-1, they are chasing the top spot. And I'm not saying that IG team's going to catch up and jump them, but you don't want to fall further and further down the standings because I talked about it before, right? You want to have a top 2 spot that gives you the bye. You avoid being the 3, 4, 5, or 6 spot in the playoffs. But Party Mix might end up in a bad matchup, and you don't want to be in a bad matchup in the first round. You want to have the easiest route possible to get into the next round of the playoffs here. So I think Party Mix, that is a bad loss in the sense of the head-to-head not in their favor with that loss against Kiss My End Zone.
And then final matchup from Week 10 here, the IG team. They get a win over depleted Le Petit Fuck lineup. Did they essentially secure themselves a playoff spot?
No, one more win will do that. Both Sub-Zero and IG team have 7 games played each, and one more can get them in. Where's it going to come from? Maybe the last game against Le Petit Fuck, right? And at that point of the regular season, because you only play 3 more games in the final. I'm doing the math here: 17, 30 days. So they play once every 10 days, or 3 in the final 30 days of the regular season that we have left over. Party Mix may not be easy. And you think about this, their last game was on March 10th, so the next game is March 30th. That's 3 weeks off. And then after that, they're not playing for another 2 more weeks. And they play twice in 3 days to wrap up their season. So if they're going to do it, the sooner the better would be nice, but I think they'll get it wrapped up by the last game on April 13th in Brossard.
All right. Co-ed 2, Mo. Again, looking at the, Co-ed 2, I have a dichotomy. Oh, I'm going to Division 2 here. A bit of a dichotomy. It's always one in FPF that I always look at. What are you more impressed with? Pass whoopings, 281 points for and scored, or Lord of the Fields, 113 points against? Are you looking more sided offensively, defensively? Where does Mo Khan land here?
Well, if I play against our boy C-Riv, Chris Rive, I'm going to get a text from him like at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. Mokan, I saw the
Even
podcast.
even though we post this at 9 a.m., you'll
Yeah.
get a text message at 7 a.m.
7 a.m.
He'll
Mokan, I
feel
saw
it.
the podcast. Okay. I see what he's doing with there, Mokan. And he have his vintage C-Riv signature laugh, right? I'm taking pass whooping. Chris Rive has done really well this season. He might be your quarterback of the year leader in the leaderboard of that award, but they have an arsenal of players. Emerson Peterkin, Ariane Boucher, Rudy's playing well. Rudy Willette's playing pretty well. Jordan Otaro, Sarah Maud Mathieu is decent as well. I mean,
Yeah.
this is a good core, good mix of players that don't have any egos to work with. And they're putting up high numbers. You think about it right now, their lowest output of points so far this year has been 31 points, and that was against Team Rock in a 7-point win back in February. And the final 3 games of the season, they could put up even more. So I think Chris Rive has his team, on an accelerator that's not going to be stopped. And now going towards the final 3 games, he can really cement his status as being probably the quarterback of the year winner if he puts up the more numbers as he's done so far this year.
Yeah, I would tend to. I'm an offensive guy, so definitely the 281 points, like it's eye popping, and you're right. The receiving core, it can substitute itself, right? Like, okay, you have Ariane Boucher coming out, you have Laurie or Rudy Willette coming in, or Saramon Mathieu out there, and even Chris's girlfriend, Valerie. She's gotten better as I've seen her progression from last winter into this winter. It's night and day. Giving her in and out wheel routes, complicated, advanced routes, and she's running them and gaining crucial yards, crucial first down. So the depth on the team is impressive, and the 281 points is just really truly spread across the entire offense. Looking at the, again, key matchup here at the bottom of Co-Ed 2, you've got Tigres versus Team Meow Meow. Does a loss spell the end for either team?
Yeah, lose, you're done. Pretty much. There's no ifs or buts about that.
And who
For
loses?
Team Meow Meow, their Final Four, you talk about the fact they got Tigres coming up on Sunday and the weekend. They got pass whooping, not going to beat them. IG Team 2 is in the playoffs bar right now, and Flash. So I don't know where that one's going to come from if they don't beat Tigres. So I think there's no question about that. This is more pressure on Team Meow Meow compared to Tigres, who in their final games this season, they'll get Balsahard University, which has which has been up and down through the course of the season, and Balls Deep. So really, it's going to come down to that game, and the winner, I think, will be in good position to be in a playoff spot going towards the end of the season.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I kind of like Tigres, even though they only have 3 games less, which is massive, right? Over Team Meow Meow's 4. I think Tigres have a slightly easier schedule in terms of strength of schedule, as it were, facing off against Balhard University. I think they can get the win there, and if they do beat Team Meow Meow, that pretty much cements their position in the playoffs.
Right.
Mo, we took a look in women's division. We took a look at the female quarterbacks. In the female quarterbacks in Co-Ed 2, which one are you trusting more come playoff time? Is it Juliette Beauvais or Sarah Maud Amel?
That's a good question, Iggy. Just trying to get their stats up here quickly here so I can get a better
so
argument
again,
here.
Juliette Beauvais of Flash,
Flash.
putting up 27 Ts, 14 INTs to Sarah Maud Amel of Team Meow Meow. She's only put up so far 16 touchdowns, 9 interceptions.
I'm going Beauvais because you said it before with Chris Rive. It's an offensive driven league. Touchdowns gets you the credibility in the FPF streets. And I think that even though her INTs are very high, I believe she's got the most in this division, or second most, as I stand correct on that. I'm going to go with her. I think Beauvais will have a higher ceiling to hit going towards the final few games of their schedule. So give me Beauvais to be the one that can make the rebound of where they are now to where they can be towards the end of the season.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. And as much as the stats suggest that Jeremy Murphy is bailing out, time and time again, and facing off against, she's a fantastic quarterback. She definitely, I found she spread the ball very well, whether it was male or female receivers. The accuracy is not always there, but for the most part is. She's maybe lacking a bit in the deep ball game department, but other than that, I think this is a quarterback you can ride all the way and into a deep playoff run. It's Juliette Beauvais for me as well, Mo. Mo, the last segment here in Calling the Audibles, episode 10, part 2, with your host, Iggy Magnus, joined here with the tailing end here with Mo Khan, the 35 plus division. As I had mentioned last week and at the top of the show here, the KTFL draft had a bit of a 2 week bye week in Flag Plus's winter season. And as they came back, once again, Corey Sim Robertson having an outstanding offensive game, but he's looking at potentially winning and locking in two-way player of the year. Is he truly the lock, or could some other player, maybe Vinny Golano, or another name, maybe Dominic Tozzi, perhaps, can someone take away the two-way player of the year from Corey Sim Robertson right now?
No, because he leads in touchdown passes, touchdown receptions, beg your pardon, 5 INTs. He's got quite a bit of yards. I believe right now he's in top 4, top
Yeah,
5.
top four. Top four.
Yeah, I don't see anyone catching up to him. Maybe Vinny Golano might be the one to look at because, as much as we look at INTs being like the deciding factor or to pick sixes, that could be the X factor. I mean, he's got 10 PDs. That means he's wrecked 10 plays, and that's massive when you look at it from that angle. So I think Vinny Golano might give him a good run, and if Vinny continues to kind of get a few more stats here and there, if he gets maybe 2 or 3 more INTs plus a few more PDs, and that might be the deciding factor because I think Vinny will put up good numbers on offense, and I think that might help his cause. So I think Vinny might be in that play, might be closing the gap a lot quicker than what we have right now at the current pace we're at.
So no lock for Corey Sim Robertson,
No, I
says
don't think so.
Mo
I think
Khan.
Vinny Golano might be the one that gives him a good run. If not, might be Vinny Golano might be the favorite at that point if we get better numbers from Vinny coming up in the final 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah, I particularly like Dominic Tozzi's 4 INTs, 2 pick sixes. When you're putting up points on the board defensively, it is massive in your way to a two-way player of the year. And he's been putting up the offensive numbers, 10 touchdowns. That's tied for third best. And he's the leader in yards. He's the only player right now to have 500 or more receiving yards. Sure, Vinny Golano right behind him. So yes, he's right behind. That's another name. It is definitely not a lock for Corey Sim Robertson, though he is your favorite right now. When I look, Mocon, at the games played here with On Rock, they picked up their second win. I believe it was over JMJ this past week, 38-31. Did we see the recipe that it will take On Rock to upset one of the two favorites here in either Brody Windsor or JMJ? By the recipe, I'm talking about Chris Olsen, perfect game, 6 TDs, no INTs. The defense getting 2 stops and essentially winning the game on converts, and particular with a I don't want to say stubbornness because I love the forward thinking of simply going for two at all odds. Is this the recipe for On Rock to essentially win playoff games and win the KTFL draft?
Maybe. I mean, you got Chris Olsen who plays a chip on his shoulder. He's always been. I mean, I think he in his mind thinks he's been doubted. I've called him out a couple times. He's proven me wrong and stuff. But I think Chris Olsen can definitely make a big run for them for On Rock and put them in position to maybe get a win or 2 wins in the playoffs at that point. So I would give them I give them a fair chance. I'm not fully convinced by them yet because of how many points they give up on defense. But if they can figure out how to get one or two stops and give Olsen field position, then yeah, they can definitely do it. But I think right now it's more on their defense to be much more sturdier than what they've been so far this season.
And I stand corrected. I said he had a perfect game, 6 TDs, no INTs. He actually did throw 2 interceptions, but my point was that the defense got those 2 stops back. I tend to think, because like you, Mo, that defense has given almost 300 points up in the 8 games. I, 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 I think they showed that the recipe to win in the playoff games is a game very similar to the one they just played against Ryan Castor and JMJ. And even if there's something satisfying in knowing that I threw 2 interceptions and my defense still was able to bail me out. Obviously, if you don't throw those 2 interceptions, you give yourself an even better chance. But that comfort, that knowing your defense can step up against the best in the KTFL draft division is a very comforting thing. And when you're playing with comfort, you're playing usually with more panache and a greater hunger to get the victory out there. So uh, as we move along to the Legends division, the final division here on Calling the Audible, who Mocon made more of a statement with their win? Was it Bearskins coming out with a gritty win over the Pacemakers, or was it Everything Hurts getting a clutch win over Greyhawks in their race to get out of the red and into a playoff spot?
I think everything hurts because it opens up spots 3 and 4 for them. It denies Greyhawks a chance to move themselves back into second place and kind of distance themselves from the pack. So I think everything hurts gets themselves that big win, and it opens up the whole equation. I think for them now moving towards their final 3 games of the season, you get Team Ethnic Senior, you get Bearskins, and you get Greyhawks as well. And I'm not saying the Greyhawks are going to tailspin here and lose out, but if they were to lose their final few games of the season before the last one, where they do have Team Ethnic Senior and Pacemakers, then maybe we're talking about a win and you're in scenario. So I think that was a massive win for that scenario to open up now for spots 3 and 4.
I I score kept both games, so they both felt, they almost both felt like playoff matchups, to be honest. And Everything Hurts sitting with only 1 win coming into that game. I definitely think you're right that was, it almost felt like a season saver for them, because otherwise they'd be sitting at 1-6, needing to win. Basically at least 2 wins out of the remaining 3 matchups. Now they've, again, you don't want to have that leeway of, oh, we can afford a loss, but they can afford a loss. And like you're saying, another matchup against Greyhawks and one against Team Ethnic Senior, the 2 teams they're chasing. This win against the Greyhawks was absolutely huge.
Absolutely.
We're going to end it here, Mo, with a snapper showdown. As 35 plus legends have 2 of the best in when it comes to snappers. So I want to know, Mo, who ends the year with more yards and more touchdowns between either Chris Brockwell of Pacemakers and or Simon's Fall of Team Ethics Senior.
I caught the number for Chris Brockwell. I think Chris Brockwell would be my pick.
For both? For yards, TDs, either one?
Yeah,
Both?
I think both. I think yards and TDs. Yeah.
So right now, so he is sitting about, I'd say, 20 yards behind Simon's Fool with the same number of games played and has 1 more touchdown. So you think he can, and what is it? Is it about the play style of Jason Rossi liking to hit?
Yeah, because Ross likes him a
his
lot,
guy?
and it's such a small distance of yards and touchdowns, really, that
Yeah.
that Brocco can go off 100 and get back into the pole position, as can Simo Dufalk as well. But I'm gonna take Brockwell to be my guy that will jump Simo Dufalk at the end of the day.
I would go Chris Brockwell with more yards, so superseding the 20 yards he's off. But I'll give Simon's Ford the touchdown lead, even though Chris Brockwell has more, so they kind of switch positions
Right.
to where they are right now. I find Jason Rossi uses Chris more upfield and to get into scoring position, and then uses his slot and wides more to score. Whereas whether it's David De Andrade or Benoit Lawler, very loves his snapper in the red zone. So give me Simon's Fool for the touchdowns, Chris Brockwell for the yards. Mo, that does it for another show. I want to thank you very much for joining here, saving the boat, as it were. How was the fasting?
It's all right. I've approached the intermittent fasting approach. Just eat between 7 to 11 at night, and that's it. Drink lots of water. So I'm going to go back drinking water now. Give myself a little break now. Have some more water, protein shake. Then have a meal at 10:30, and that's it. And then we go at it again. I'll fast from pretty much 11 p.m. tonight till 7:02 p.m. the next day. So that's roughly, 20-hour fast. Yeah, more or less.
So what's that late night dinner looking like?
Just Indian food, just something light. You can't eat heavy. I'm not a heavy eater now, as I once was. But I'll eat, like, I'm gonna load up on water now. That's the most important thing, is just be hydrated, to be honest with you. And because I work out next morning 7 a.m., so it's sort of that
Workout.
that catch-22. You got to be very delicate in how you push weight. So yeah, it's tough afterwards. I take a quick 20-minute nap after my workout, and away we go.
20-minute nap. Does you feel rested after that, or like you just want to keep sleeping?
No. You feel rested. It's 20 minutes. They always say you take a 20-minute nap and that's it, or 25 minutes and that's it. You go past 25, you're in trouble for the rest of the day.
Gotcha. All right, Mo. Once again, thank you very much for saving the show. Just again reiterate, St. Patrick's Day. Play your game, have fun, do your shenanigans, but do so responsibly, of course.
Is it this
We want
weekend?
yeah, St. Patrick's Day this
Oh
weekend.
man, I've been sort of loop with my broadcasting schedule, man. I lost track of days and stuff, so I thought it was next
It's
weekend.
very the weather. It's really the where spring starts to kick in. Definitely the better weather, the more sunlight. Those two things have been true. And St. Patrick's Day again. Don't show up drunk to your games. And again,
Never.
spring registrations are around the corner. So stay tuned for that. And if ever you're interested in the 5v5 format, send your questions to info@FlagPlusFootball. I don't do that. You do that. I am signing off. Iggy Magnets. Good night from Mocon, from myself. That was Calling the Audible.
Put the place up, yeah, we know what we made of.